All right, well, I wanted to welcome everyone to Radio Free QuickBooks, very special edition. We are in Mountain View, California at Intuit headquarters, my first time ever being here. My name is Woody Adams, I'll be your host, and we also have Don Brolin and Stacy Kildal on. Don, Stacy, have you guys been to Mountain View before for Intuit? I think so, right?
Yes, I've been here 4 times, as a matter of fact, for Intuit Accountant Council.
That's right.
So that was super fun, amazing. What they do out here is insane.
And Stacy, recently, right?
Yeah, just last month, maybe August.
QBO?
I don't know what month it is. It's October. So it was August. I was out here. I got to spend the day with the QBO team. They picked my brain. They called it SK365, and so I spent the whole day with the QBO team and the App Center team, and they just picked my brain about how I use QuickBooks Online.
Thank you for that.
No, thank you. It was an amazing day. It was awesome.
SK365. That's a brand that we can start marketing.
Right, totally. Yeah.
Perfect.
Yep.
And of course, the big special reason we're out here, and again, I've been with Intuit 8 years, always wanted to come to Mountain View, so I was kind of taking pictures this morning, and so people are thinking, oh, he must be from Texas or Intuit, Texas or something. I've seen the airport, we came in at night, so I've seen the airport, a train, and then the gas prices. And I took a picture of that and Facebooked that too. Right. But we're out here to actually chat with Intuit CEO Brad Smith. Brad, thanks so much for taking your time out of this busy day to come on the show, and how are you doing today?
I'm doing great, man. I love it. You brought some of the weather with you, though. We typically have sunshine out here. We're SK365 and Sun 365. I guess Texas decided to import a little bit of drizzle, but we'll take it. That's all right.
And I love it because I don't go outside from May, because you were there, and we're going to go over that for a long time, but May till end of September, I'm inside. Because it's just brutal. So I love the California weather. It's such a But thanks so much for taking time out of your day to come on the show. It's wonderful. Before we get into the questions, we just come from Sleater, so we're going to be talking cloud and Intuit's online services and our vision there. And no better person to ask than you on this stuff. Can you just tell people, our listeners know that you're a CEO of Intuit, right? So when they're listening, but I always like to do a little nostalgia or some color. So you've had other roles at Intuit leading up to the CEO. You were in Texas for a while. Can you explain that? And then Jill at Sleater told me I would be remiss if I didn't ask you about West Virginia roots.
Okay, you got it. Well, you want me to start with the Intuit side or the West Virginia side first?
Yeah, sorry. I usually ask 2 questions at once to give every guest a choice, but yeah.
Or confuse them.
That's fine. Well, let me do it chronologically, because I didn't start in West Virginia before I came to Intuit. So I grew up in this little town in West Virginia called Canova. It stands for Kentucky, Ohio, and Virginia. A town of about 1,300 people. If you watch the movie We Are Marshall with Matthew McConaughey, the airport where the plane crashed is actually my hometown. So I was 6 years old. I watched the plane crash. I watched my cousins, who were the firemen, actually go there and be on the rescue team. And my older brother, me and my younger brother all graduated from Marshall. So we are Marshall. So very important part of my life. Love it. I grew up Huckleberry Finn, swam in the Ohio River. You know, I had G.I. Joes, played out until my mom whistled at night and said, "Time to get in, boys," and all that fun stuff. So great upbringing. My career took me through packaged goods at Pepsi and 7-Up. I went into direct marketing before the internet, which got us into database modeling, which was kind of fun. I spent 6 years at a now competitor, ADP, but that's when I got a call from Intuit, and came out and met with Scott Cook and the then CEO Steve Bennett.
Steve Bennett, right.
And so I started out in the Accountant Central business in what is now the Accounting Professionals Division. And my job was working with the ProAdvisor program, which was literally in its infancy at the time, as well as our third-party software developers. So that's why accountants are near and dear to my heart. I don't think I've missed more than 1 or maybe 2 accountant councils in the last 10 years. No matter what role I've had, I've always gone, because it is the source of all the insights we get. They are our power users. They're the most important influencers to all of our customers, and quite frankly, they kick my butt every single time I'm in there.
Yes, they do.
Which
They're
I love.
Brutal.
Yeah, and butt, by the way, was modified for this particular form. So after doing that for a while, I was asked to go over and run TurboTax. So I became the general manager of TurboTax, and that was the year that competitors went free. And so we had to take a bold move to say, well, we matched them on free. And we ended up having a wonderful year, very successful growth, and higher net promoter scores. And just about that time, a now friend, but then foe, Microsoft decided to come after QuickBooks. And so I was asked to
remember
do
that.
more.
Right.
Yeah.
And so in 2005, took over the QuickBooks and small business franchise, which included payroll, payments, and all the assets that now are the ecosystem. and did that for 2.5 years until August 2007. They announced that there'd be a CEO transition, and I stepped in January 2008. So sorry for the long story.
No, that's great.
That's kind of it.
Spot on.
That color,
That's what
and it's all true, by the way.
Well, you know, every once in a while I'll toss a little
good.
something in there because this is the election season. I want you to figure out is it fact or fiction. But that was all true. You can do fact on
Appreciate
that.
that.
All right.
No, we love the history, and of course, so both Stacy and Don are advanced certified ProAdvisors. So Don, you've been certified since
06 when they started. It was on site first. You go on site for advanced certified.
Advanced
you would go on site and then you would have the training, and then subsequently became the monster exam, we call it.
It
made me cry.
In 06? Yeah. That's like your 16th birthday. You got advanced certification. That was pretty good. Impressive.
That's nice. That is sweet. Yeah.
And then
it's true too.
Yeah. See, that's fact or fiction. That's fact.
Well, another one, and I think we can say this in television, but Stacy was, I think, postpartum when she took the advanced certification exam.
I blame it.
So
I blame the fact that I cried when I took the advanced certification on the fact that I had a 3-month-old. So it was, you're a little touchy. But it was really hard. So I tell people that all the time, you have to really work at it. So it's not just like, hey, this little test you have to take. It's a really hard test. It made me cry.
Yeah.
Well, congratulations for passing it to both
through
of you.
Yeah.
Powering.
Yeah.
So we just came from Sleater, 3 days Sleater, so we're talking to all of they're about 80%, 85% ProAdvisors. So all the accountants that you talk to and love, and so it was all about cloud. And actually, I think Doug's been doing it since last year. Everybody's talking about cloud, but from your perspective, what is Intuit's vision and strategy on our online services?
Yeah, I'd say it goes back in time to 2007, 2008. It happened to be our 25th anniversary as a company. We were working with the Institute for the Future, and they're a think tank. They actually work with companies and governments, and they look at the next 10 years trends. They look at demographic trends, technological trends, sociological trends. And in a nutshell, they saw some massive things happening in the market that informed our company's strategy at that point. And it was basically we're moving away from a paper-based, brick-and-mortar bound economy to a cloud-based economy that we called connected services. The reason why we called it connected services at the time was we also saw one of those sub-trends was the computer moving from the desktop to the palm of our hand. The iPhone was about 7 months old. The iPad had not come out yet, but we could see that people were untethered now from desktop and were going to want to interact in different ways. So we declared a connected services strategy, and just to give you sort of a from-to, in 2008, the Intuit franchise, after a quarter of a century, served 30 million customers. Today, we now serve 60 million customers 5 years later, and 45 million are in the cloud.
Nice. Wow.
So the strategy has certainly accelerated growth. It's helped us serve our accountant partners and their clients more efficiently, and it's basically enabled us to do things we could have never done on just a desktop product.
Right.
No, absolutely. Awesome. And to bring it even closer to QuickBooks, Stacy, myself, Jessica Snow, Kevin Kern, and Jorge Olivarietes, from
absolutely.
Plano. We did a lot of demos of QBO, QBOA, so the accountant's edition of that, and then even ITO. So there's very exciting stuff coming. And even if accountants were, because they're so used to the desktop, always comparing it to Windows, so we're always having, that to try. Well, come back, they haven't seen it in a while. As soon as I showed them QuickBooks Online Accountant, they're like, I'm signing up. I had 3 people who were avidly against QBO. I'm signing up tonight back at the hotel room, after the Sleater conference. So, because they had, at the conference, at their hotel room, they would sign up so they could just all the tools there. So, we're doing a lot of stuff there as well. But what's next? We have QBOA, ITO, and what's next?
Yeah, let me first respond, Woody, to one of the points you made, because it's important. And there are 2 truths that we have to put on the table. One truth is the online version will never match the Windows desktop version by design. The Windows desktop version is 20 years in the making.
Yeah.
And we used to have to identify the next feature we could put in the product to get somebody to upgrade. And ultimately, what you find is about 5% of those features are readily used by even our power users, and the rest ends up being clutter and getting in the way of ease of use. So we won't ultimately end up matching that functionality. But the other factor reality is we hadn't really stepped back and thought about how this QuickBooks Online version could be designed for our most important customer, which is the accountant. And so we needed to step back and do some of the things that we had thought about in desktop that we hadn't consciously thought about in QBO. So the ability to have, through QBO for accountant, QuickBooks Online for accountant, the ability to have one client list, the ability to do easy reconciliation, reclassify transactions in a batch process, all those things that have been critical to accountants we now have into QuickBooks Online. So I'm excited about it. Where it's going at sort of the bigger level is just think of the virtual office.
Yes.
In the virtual office, we used to talk about paperless office 5-10 years ago.
Right.
And that was more about us. It was internal efficiency and moving things around electronically. The virtual office is a little different in that it moves from transactions to interactions. It's the ability for your client to interact with you the way they want to. Much like the video that you shot that helped our employees get a different mindset is you could be out on a bike.
Yeah, and that was a true story. I was riding my bike, and I have a little...
today. A lot of truth going on at this table.
I think on November 6th they have to put us up there on the bike. But go ahead, Stacey. We didn't mean to interrupt you there.
No, she does it all the time. I let her. It's fine.
That's why I hang with her.
Well, that's why we did a WebEx last Friday, and she said I was at the salon getting my hair did, and we were on the WebEx, so I had to do it mute, and she said, "Oh, this is the best WebEx I've ever done. Stacey's on mute." So I think we should do them all that way.
All of them that way.
Because all I can do is chat. Yeah. So anyway, that's a true story. I have a case on my, the handlebars of my bike, and the text came up, just a panic text from my client saying, "Hey, I need XYZ, blah, 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 about payroll." So, I literally just stopped, took it out of my case, got what I needed, did screenshots from the payroll app, and sent it to her and was on my way. So, it's a true story. It wasn't something we made up for that video. A lot of people were asking me about that at the conferences, did you really actually do that?
Oh, yeah.
So, yeah.
And you did a last-minute payroll before you went into a speaking conference once, because the guy forgot to tell you there's one other check you had to do, and you just did it on your...
Yeah, and I've done it before getting on a plane. I told Jill there was one time where I was doing, before I was getting on a plane, I was doing somebody's payroll, and they needed the PDFs. So I did it a combination of on my phone and then logged into my hosting account to print out and save the PDF. So I actually logged into my hosting account to get some of the files that they needed because I couldn't do it on my phone. So we work everywhere.
And that's kind of the concept. What Stacey just did is not only illustrative of how she wants to operate and work as a professional, but also how her clients are now living their lives and they're wanting to interact. And so for us, the difference is this virtual office concept is not about deeply integrated, hardwired products.
Exactly.
It is about liberating the data and allowing customers to use whatever platform or device they want and have that data flow freely so it makes it more seamless and frictionless. And that's really what we're going to. So now what we have is we have the Tax Online product, which is really cool, and you have QuickBooks Online. You have the ability to have the data move out of QuickBooks Online right into the tax product seamlessly. You have one single logon. You don't have to have multiple logons. And it just makes it more productive to save time for the accountant, and it makes it much more efficient for the customer or the client.
Yeah, and Tax Online has the Lacerte tax engine, so it's a superior tax program, so there's tons of headroom and power.
Absolutely.
That's what people were noticing too at the show. And Dawn, the other clip, she's just hit a double or a home run in softball. And she's getting a payment through GoPayment.
This is a league of their own, and she's up there and she's just knocking it out of the park.
Rosie O'Donnell was on third base. Come on. And actually, it was funny.
So were you Madonna?
I was. I definitely was Madonna. I was doing it. So I got up there. Actually, the film crew had just left. And my team, I was late. You don't just get to go in the game because you're on film. You're gonna have to coach third base.
Right. Yeah.
We're letting you coach third base. And then they left. I got up there and cranked a triple because somebody played in on me. Not a good idea. And banged out a triple. I turn around and the camera crew's gone. I'm like, oh. So,
and they didn't catch that on film.
I didn't catch it.
But
it happened, and that is also the truth.
Am I allowed to ask you Giants or Tigers at this point in terms of the World Series?
I'm from New England.
We're pretty depressed, so any good news you can,
I'm happy for everyone that's happy.
And
there you go.
I live about an hour north of Detroit, so.
Yeah. So you're going to be going Tigers in the World Series?
Yeah, my husband texted me a whole bunch of stuff that if it came up I was going to say, but now I don't know what it was because I don't have any idea about sports.
Yeah.
So it was going to make it, seem like I really knew what I was talking about in case I ran into anybody today.
So after last night's score where you all were pretty soundly beat, it might be that the champion's not measured by how often they hit the ground, but how quickly they get back up.
Exactly.
Exactly. There you go.
I love that.
There you go. We got a few more games.
Can we use that?
Yeah, you can use any of it. Because he who steals from me or she who steals from me steals twice. I've never had an original idea, so go ahead.
So the virtual office, love that, and on a global level too.
Yes.
That's the goal, right? Is QBO global, but just the virtual office global because accountants are everywhere, and Intuit's wanting to bring that platform. Can you break that down a little?
Yeah, Woody, it's interesting. One of the ahas that you find when you go into the cloud is there's no natural boundary to the cloud. Any new online offering we've created, immediately 10 to 15% of customers are calling us from countries we never even marketed to, and they're wanting help.
Wow.
And one of the things we've discovered as we've been looking across the globe in the last 5 to 7 years is there's one universal truth: the accountant. Whether it's a chartered accountant or it's a certified professional accountant or it's a ProAdvisor, they have such singular influence over helping their clients be successful and have the influence over their decisions that if you want to serve small businesses around the globe or consumers, you have to understand and work with the client, with the accountant. So that's one of the things we're excited about. ProAdvisor is now a global program. We've been taking the best lessons learned. Yes, absolutely. We're moving it across the globe. And we're trying to use that influence to help us understand how to tailor the products to make the right decisions for their clients in those markets.
Right, because I think Allison Ball's over there doing it, and Rich Walker, right? They're over doing the ProAdvisor over there. Okay.
And I think the courses that I wrote for the Singapore QBO were what they used for the first ProAdvisor program over there too.
Yeah.
So, yeah. The QBO courses that I wrote for Singapore.
See, Stacy's worldwide.
Oh, yeah.
She is.
I'm an international.
She can ride her bike over the water.
I'm a global entity.
Ride that bike over the
and
water.
We've set up a cricket game in the UK so that we can have Dawn go and hit the ball right over there.
Ready.
That's
The
right.
ringer?
That's right. She's the ringer.
Yeah, we won't tell anybody. That's between us.
Yeah.
We'll keep that between
right
us.
here.
Right here.
So I met the guy at Sleater, Clayton from Australia. He kind of wants to do his own conference over there, and he wants to bring QBO there to accountants. He's been doing it for about 15 years, and he says that there are some listeners of Radio Free QuickBooks in Australia.
Fabulous.
I had no idea.
No
Like I
boundaries.
said, only QuickBooks radio show in the galaxy. That's what the back of our shirts say. In the galaxy.
As far as we know.
Yeah.
And
The galaxy goes beyond global and worldwide. We're now talking about satellites and planets.
Well, you saw that guy jump from the thing?
Yeah.
We're going to be doing
I'm
shows
pretty
up
sure
on those
he
things.
was listening to Radio Free QuickBooks
That's impressive.
on his way down. I'm pretty sure.
And there's
He was
one
listening
story
to
I wanted to tell you. I told Jill, because we talked to both Jill Ward and Dan Wernikoff. Because again, they just did a wonderful keynote. It was great. It just some of the things you're talking about and how they laid it out is just this kind of vision. Great platform for accountants. But I met a 22 or 23-year-old
I love this
kid.
story.
I mean, young man.
This is a great story.
Right out of school, started to listen to the show, and then became a ProAdvisor. He has one client. It's his dad. His mom and dad, they have it like a drive-in. And he's starting to get questions about QBO. You can tell, and he's about 15 minutes from, his area is about 15 minutes from Staples Center in LA. And you just tell next leader, he's probably got a half a dozen, 8 clients. It was just so cool. I mean, there's a young kid, accountant, ProAdvisor already.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, doing it.
You got to imagine, this next generation that grew up with iPods, iPhones, PlayStation. They Googled everything they were looking for. Products they found were in app stores. They're a complete digital generation, and so that's their expectation. So these cloud-based products, this virtual office, riding the bike, and the ability to do the payroll before. I mean, that's the kind of stuff that we have to have ready for the next generation of professionals.
Exactly. We were doing a Google Plus with Seth David and Doug Sleater, and my 7-year-old, I couldn't get the audio going, and Ray said, I think you got to plug in the headset, Dad.
Hey,
that might be more about me than...
brother, at this point.
I shouldn't have put the headset there.
That's okay. You keep going. That worked, though.
That's awesome.
So, innovating, our kind of a lean approach. Can you break that down for how we do it? Because I think people have this, I was talking with Chris Repetto earlier today, they have a misconception that it's just so huge and hard to get things done, but we really have a kind of you instill kind of a lean approach to things, right, for innovation?
Yeah, we do. Well, we have a company that was started by a founder who's passionately involved 30 years later, Scott Cook.
Yeah.
And one of the concepts that we've always tried to maintain is how do you take the best of a big company, which comes with resources, 30 years of learning, large installed customer bases, but also keep the magic of a startup, the ability to quickly and rapidly iterate, to experiment, to shut things down that don't work, and to empower employees to be able to move fast. And we've put that together into a concept that Eric Ries, a wonderful author and a friend of mine, has basically coined the lean startup. And it's scientific method. What it basically is break your company down into teams no bigger than 2 pizzas can feed. So 4 to 6 person teams. Recognize that it's a process with the customer in the kitchen.
Yeah.
And they are the ones helping you decide whether something works or doesn't work.
Right.
And ultimately what you do is you develop a rapid, rough prototype. You get it in front of customers. You'll find customers immediately begin to move the buttons around or change the colors or say, well, this doesn't work. And so what they're doing is helping you develop what ultimately will be something that they will want to consume or buy. And you do it really quickly, and you fund the things that work, and you shut down the things that don't.
Right.
To make it work, there's a couple of universal truths. The first is no PowerPoints, no politics, and no persuasion.
I love that.
The highest paid personal opinion.
3 Ps.
Yeah, the highest paid personal opinion, which some would argue may be mine, but Scott makes more money than me, the founder, so I'm going to say Scott. Counts the least. So it's about the person who has the best data and shows the demonstrated adoption of the customer is the thing that we're going to back. And then the second thing is everyone's an innovator. Some companies have labs where they have double PhDs that sit in and they dream up the next thing.
Right.
In our company, we have 8,000 innovators. It doesn't matter what role you're in. If you're in a business, a function, an engineer, or a sales or customer care person, you can have as good an idea as anybody else, develop a quick prototype, get some feedback, and we'll bet on the ones that work. And that's how we kind of keep innovation going.
Awesome.
It's pretty fun.
Great. Yeah.
It's neat.
No, that's great. I love the two pizza analogy. Chris had explained it to me over breakfast, but I get it. That's a great way to do that.
Well, just imagine governments. The bigger the crowd, the harder to get the decision.
Exactly.
In this case, we keep it small.
Oh, that's awesome.
All right.
So I'm seeing the virtual office I always come back to. So I see a platform. We have QBO, QBOA, ITO for US. Is there are we looking at tax global too? I know the ProAdvisors there global, but are we looking at tax global too? Or
yeah, this is something, Woody, where my mindset, the number of times I've been wrong, I can't count, and particularly when it comes to global.
I'm right there with you.
Yeah. Well, I tell you, Stacy,
We're in a good group here.
The good news is pattern recognition becomes more obvious the older I get, so I can start to see those things. But what we discovered with QuickBooks Online is instead of us trying to localize the product for every country, because in 5 years we were in 5 countries, and I said, wow, at this pace it'll be 170 dog years before we cover the globe. Forget the galaxy, which is Stacy and Don's vision.
Right.
So we developed a user contribution model. We call it QuickBooks Online Worldwide. It has the ability to translate the language using Google Translate into any country that you're in, and then users can go in and correct the semantics or the spelling, and if it's correct, it'll change it for everybody else in the cloud. So the users make the product local. And the same thing on taxes, where you go in and we have what we know about the country's taxes. The local chartered accountant or an end user can go in and actually say, no, the sales tax is actually this in this area. We have an editor-in-chief that just checks the quality, and if the answer is correct, we change it in the cloud for everybody. As soon as we did that for QuickBooks Online, the tax team stepped back and said, well, why would we not be able to do that for taxes?
Right.
Or why would we not be able to do that for payroll? So that new insight, which is literally since July, is now starting to infiltrate all the other businesses, and I think you're going to see us running experiments. I can't declare that we're going to take these products yet, but if we have one of these lean startup teams that say, wow, it's working, wouldn't be surprised.
But I could just see Stacy on her bike one day, and when she has the little
hopefully we'll have jetpacks.
handheld there, right, or jetpacks. But you're actually doing a payroll for, you might have a client in Dubai or something, you know what I mean?
Something.
It could be that so easy to access, regardless. Well, that's wonderful news, Brad. You guys have any questions? I had one more for Brad. You had any questions?
I've been just loving listening because you just know so much. Do you have like a little USB plug or something we can connect to your brain and just take it all out so we can take it home with us?
You would be very afraid if you connected to my brain.
I'd probably never sleep.
It's all right.
It'd be like coffee.
You would suffer flashbacks that, just kidding.
That's awesome.
So, in the context of innovation, what's next? What can you share for Intuit?
Well, we just talked about this. In fact, I have a State of the Company address with the local Mountain View campus. There'll be a couple thousand people there in about an hour or so. And every time that you make a leap forward, you have to imagine what the next 5 to 10 years will be. And we just finished some updated work with the same company, the Institute for the Future.
Yeah.
And we saw some pretty cool trends. The first is we're now entering a phase where end users don't want to be consumers, they want to be participants. I'll bet you we can compare our own iPhones or Android devices, and we have very different music mixes.
Right.
We have different apps we've chose to put on our apps, on our devices, and people want a market of one. And so how do we take this QuickBooks Online Worldwide concept, like we just talked about, and enable our products to be configured by end users and third parties in a way that makes it very unique to that person? The second big theme we see is the opportunity for us to go global much faster by using this user contribution model. And then the third is the power of data. This is now becoming a world where we can download apps that count our calories. It's not an app that I've necessarily wanted, but I have now.
I know, right?
It can
that
track
I ignore regularly.
How many steps you take, how many miles you've run, Nike Fuel, all those things. And now we see that data is the equalizer. It's leveling what used to be only available to big customers to the little guys, we call it, the small business, the smaller professional accounting firm. And so we've got a strategy that said it's going to continue to be about building amazing product experiences, but we're reimagining the products to be mobile first and mobile only. Because this is a world where the computers move to the palm of our hand, a tablet or a phone. The second is we're going to change from being just a product company to an open platform that enables the contributions of ProAdvisors, accountants, and small businesses to make our product better while we sleep. And the third is we're going to go to town on the data. And we're going to figure out a way to use the data to do all the work for the customers. They don't have to key anything in. Or the ability for us to give them deeper insights like, hey, other people like you have this kind of savings, or they spent this much on the seeds in their florist shop, and why are you paying that much? And try to give them a way to save money and be more productive. So that's our next chapter. It feels a little like Galaxy Star Wars stuff, but the truth is, it's real stuff.
How can you not be positive or excited about that? I mean, that's just awesome.
And I love it. Every time I've ever been on any marketing anything call with Intuit, I'm always say, if you guys can just let me do everything from my phone, I'll be perfectly happy. I've been asking, and you guys are I mean, there's so much. The payroll app, literally my favorite app. I will log in to do payroll with that while I'm sitting at my computer before I'll log in on the browser to do the payroll.
I tell you, Stacy and Don, stay tuned. We've got an interesting little thing you'll see coming out in the very near future. I don't want to pre-announce. But Dan
we don't.
We
don't pre-announces.
That's right. We're not.
That's an editing nightmare for us.
That's 2 or 3 hours of time suck for Stacy.
All I'm going to tell you is this.
Stress.
Dan Warnikoff, whom you saw at the Sleater Conference up there with Jill, challenged his team to go back and reimagine what QuickBooks could be if it had been designed for a tablet and a phone. And the code names were Simba and Nyla. So if you watch The Lion King, remember Simba and Nyla wouldn't stay on Pride Rock even though Mufasa wanted him to. They went off and played with the hyenas. He said, I want you to go play with the hyenas. I want you to imagine this thing completely differently. And I have seen the work coming from that team, and it is an amazing reimagine of an experience that is exactly what you asked for, Stacy. So
I have been beta testing
there you go.
I will say that.
There you go. So without further ado, I will cease on the pre-announcement.
Right. We will stop that.
And Ray and Isaac are going to know exactly what you were talking about right there. Our kids. So that was perfect.
Perfect.
Now, Brad, thanks so much for taking the time. I know today's a busy day, and coming on Radio Free QuickBooks. Really appreciate your time and expertise and just breaking it all down. It's very exciting stuff.
Yep.
And I hope you guys enjoyed the show. This is a wonderful opportunity. Radio Free QuickBooks out from Mountain View, California. Myself, Don, Stacy, and Brad Smith. Have a wonderful day.